You want to know what to sell before retirement? Well, pull up a chair, young one. Let me tell you something. I've been around since 1918. I've seen the Roaring '20s, the Great Depression, World War II, the dot-com bubble, the housing crash, and more market cycles than you've had hot dinners. And at 106 years old, sitting here in this rocking chair with my arthritis and my memories and my bank statements that would make your eyes water, I'm going to give you the unvarnished truth about what you need to unload before you hang up your work boots for good, because I've watched 3 generations of my family make the same mistakes. I've buried 2 husbands who thought they knew better than me about money, and I've outlived every financial advisor who ever told me to stay the course while my portfolio bled out. So listen close, because I don't have many breaths left, and I need to pass this wisdom on before I join my herald in the great beyond. First thing you need to sell is that oversized house. I know, you love your McMansion, you love your granite countertops and your 3-car garage and your bonus room that you use exactly twice a year when the in-laws visit. But let me tell you what happens when you retire and you're living on a fixed income in a 4,000 square foot monument to your former earning power. The property taxes don't retire when you do. The heating bills don't get smaller just because your paychecks stop coming. The roof still leaks, the pipes still burst, and suddenly you're spending your golden years wandering around a house that's mostly empty rooms, collecting dust and regret. My daughter Margaret did this, stayed in the 5-bedroom colonial after her kids left, spent her entire pension just maintaining the place, couldn't travel, couldn't enjoy herself, died in that house alone at 72 with rooms full of furniture covered in sheets. Sell it now while you can still get top dollar, downsize to something manageable, something where you can reach the kitchen without taking a rest halfway there, something where you're not heating rooms that haven't seen a human being since the Obama administration. Take the equity and put it somewhere that pays you instead of costing you, because I promise you maintenance doesn't get easier when your knees go bad and your balance gets shaky. I fell in my bathroom last year. Took me 3 hours to crawl to the phone. If I'd been in one of those sprawling suburban palaces, I'd still be lying there. Second thing you need to sell is your second car, or your third car, or that classic car in the garage that you're going to restore someday. Let me tell you about someday. Someday is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid admitting we're hoarding metal and rubber that depreciates faster than our waistlines expand. My grandson Kevin had a collection, 3 cars for 2 people, thought he was being smart, thought he was diversifying his assets, then he retired and realized he was paying insurance on vehicles that sat in the driveway collecting bird droppings and rust. Cars are not investments for 99% of people. They're expenses with wheels. And in retirement, every fixed expense is an anchor dragging you toward the bottom. Sell the extra vehicles, bank the cash, and if you really need to go somewhere that your one reliable car can't take you, rent something for the weekend. You'll come out thousands ahead, and you won't be worrying about whether the Jaguar in your garage is appreciating while you're trying to afford your blood pressure medication. Third thing, and this one hurts because I know what it means to you. Sell your timeshare. I don't care if it's in Orlando or Aruba or some ski resort in Colorado that you visited once and convinced yourself you'd return to every winter. Timeshares are financial quicksand. They sink you slowly while promising paradise. My neighbor Ethel bought one in 1987. She's still paying maintenance fees. 37 years later, fees that started at $400 a year and now cost her $200, fees that will keep rising long after she's gone and burdening her children who don't want it and can't give it away. I tried to warn her. I said, Ethel, you're buying a liability, not an asset. But she saw the presentation. She saw the glossy photos. She signed on the dotted line, and now she spends her Social Security check supporting a week in Florida that she hasn't taken since her hip replacement in 2015. Sell it. Take the loss if you have to. Pay someone to take it off your hands. Just get out before you're 80 and still paying for a view of a parking lot that you visit in your dreams. Fourth thing you need to sell is your employer's stock. I know you think you're being loyal. I know you think you have inside knowledge. I know you believe in the company that's fed your family for 30 years. But let me tell you about my friend Dorothy, who worked for Enron. Let me tell you about my cousin's husband, who was all in on Lehman Brothers. Let me tell you about the good people at WorldCom and Bear Stearns and all the other too big to fail or too solid to collapse companies that took their employees' life savings down with them when the tide went out. Concentration risk is the silent killer of retirement portfolios, and nothing is more concentrated than having your paycheck and your portfolio coming from the same source. When I was a girl, my father taught me never to put all your eggs in one basket, and that wisdom has served me for a century. Sell those shares systematically as you approach retirement. Diversify into things that don't depend on your former boss's quarterly earnings calls, because the company that loves you while you're working will forget your name the day after your retirement party, and you don't want to be holding the bag when they miss earnings or face a lawsuit or get disrupted by some startup run by kids half your age. Fifth thing, and this is controversial, but I'm too old to care about being polite. Sell your life insurance if you don't need it anymore. Whole life policies, universal life, variable annuities wrapped in insurance wrappers. These products were sold to you by smooth-talking agents who took you to lunch and asked about your kids while they were earning commissions that would make a used car salesman blush. And maybe back when you had a mortgage and young children, they made sense. Maybe the death benefit was the only way to ensure your family survived if you got hit by a trolley. But now you're 65, the kids are grown, the house is paid off or should be, and you're paying premiums for a payout that your spouse won't need or that will just add to your estate tax problems. I had a policy that I paid into for 40 years. 40 years of premiums that could have been invested in anything else. And when I finally looked at the numbers, I realized my cash value was growing slower than inflation, and my beneficiaries would be better off with the money I was spending on premiums invested in dividend stocks. So I sold it, took the cash value, paid the taxes, and freed up $400 a month that now pays for my groceries instead of an insurance company's advertising budget. Sixth thing you need to sell is your collectibles, your baseball cards, your comic books, your antique furniture, your porcelain dolls, your Beanie Babies still in their plastic cases, your limited edition plates from the Franklin Mint, all that stuff you bought thinking it was an investment, thinking it would appreciate, thinking your grandchildren would fight over it someday. Let me disabuse you of that notion right now. Collectibles are hobbies that masquerade as investments. They bring joy or they don't, but they rarely bring returns, and in retirement you need liquidity, not nostalgia. I have a basement full of my mother's things, Hummel figurines, depression glass, quilts she spent years stitching, and you know what it's worth sentiment. That's it. The dealers offered me pennies on the dollar. The auction houses wanted me to pay them to take it. My grandchildren looked at it like it was radioactive. So sell it now while there's still a market of aging boomers who might want it. Sell it before you have to pay someone to haul it to the dump. Sell it and use the money for experiences that actually matter, for travel while you can still walk, for dinners with friends who are still alive, for anything other than dusting objects that sit in cabinets reminding you of your own mortality. Seventh thing, sell your rental properties if you're a landlord. I know. Real estate estate is the path to wealth. Everyone says so, but at 65, 70, 75, do you really want to be unclogging toilets at 2 a.m.? Do you want to be dealing with tenants who forgot to pay rent because their car broke down? Do you want to be navigating eviction courts and property tax assessments and roof replacements when you're supposed to be enjoying your sunset years? My son-in-law thought he was building a legacy, bought 4 duplexes, spent his weekends fixing garbage disposals and painting over graffiti. Then he turned 70 and the stairs became a problem and the stress became a health hazard, and he realized he'd built himself a job, not a retirement. Sell the properties, take the capital gains hit if you must, 1031 exchange into a REIT if you're tax sensitive, but get out of active management while you still have the energy to enjoy the proceeds, because being a landlord is young person's work or rich person's work, and if you're neither, you shouldn't be doing it with your precious remaining years. 8th thing, sell your boat if you have one, or your RV, or your motorcycle collection, or any other toy that requires maintenance, storage, insurance, and physical capability that may not last as long as your enthusiasm. My nephew had a beautiful 32-foot sailboat, talked about sailing around the world when he retired, kept it in a marina for 15 years, paying slip fees and bottom cleaning and engine maintenance. Finally retired at 67 with a bad back and a wife who got seasick, sold the boat for half what he had in it, never sailed it once beyond the harbor. The dream was beautiful, but the reality was a hole in the water into which he threw money. Be honest with yourself about what you'll actually do in retirement, not what you fantasize about doing. Sell the toys that require youth and strength and keep only those that you can enjoy with whatever body you have left. 9th thing, and this is the hardest one for most people, sell your business if you own one. I don't mean close it, I mean sell it, find a buyer, transition it, take the payout, because nothing destroys retirement faster than being emotionally chained to a company that can't survive without your daily involvement. My brother ran a hardware store for 40 years, promised his wife he'd retire at 65, then 70, then 75, kept saying he just needed to get through this busy season, hire this one more employee, train this successor who kept quitting, died at 78, still opening the store at 6 a.m., never took the vacation, never cashed out, left his family with a business that folded within a year because it was built around him and him alone. If you have something sellable, sell it. Take the earn out if you must, stay on as consultant for transition, but get your value out while there's still value to get, because businesses don't age well. Technology changes, markets shift, and the thing that's worth millions today might be worth liquidation prices tomorrow if you wait too long. 10th thing, sell your jewelry, not all of it. Keep the pieces with real sentimental value, your wedding ring, your mother's brooch, but all those other pieces, the necklaces you bought because they matched a dress you no longer own, the earrings from your ex-husband, the bracelets you accumulated over decades of birthdays and Christmases, gold is gold and diamonds are diamonds, and in retirement, cash is more useful than sparkle. I sold my jewelry box 3 years ago, pieces I'd accumulated over a century of living, got enough to pay for 2 years of assisted living when the time comes, and you know what I miss. Nothing, not a single piece, because I can't wear them anymore anyway. My fingers are too arthritic for rings, my neck too fragile for heavy necklaces, my ears too sensitive for anything but studs, so sell while there's still a market, while you can still travel to the dealer, while the gold price is favorable, and bank the security that liquidity provides. 11th thing, sell your guns if you're a collector. I know this is controversial. I know the politics, I know the culture, but I'm 106, and I've seen what happens when the wrong person gets access to weapons, and I've seen what happens to collections when the collector dies and the family doesn't want them. Sell them legally, sell them responsibly, sell them while you can still handle the paperwork and the logistics. Convert them to assets that don't require safes and insurance and worry about theft. My grandson inherited his father's collection, dozens of firearms, spent years trying to sell them legally, finally had to pay an auction house to take the lot, lost money on every transaction, wished his father had sold them while he was still alive to manage the process. 12th thing, sell your time. I know that sounds strange, but hear me out. In retirement, your time is your most valuable asset, and you're going to be bombarded with requests for it, volunteer boards that want you for your experience, grandchildren who need babysitting, adult children who need help moving, neighbors who need rides to the doctor. And while generosity is a virtue, your time is finite and you need to sell it, meaning you need to value it, protect it, be selective about who gets it, because at 106 I can tell you that the days go fast and the years go faster, and you don't want to spend your final healthy years being everyone else's solution to their scheduling problems. Sell your time to the highest bidders, whether that's your own hobbies, your own travel, your own rest, or actual consulting work that pays what you're worth, but don't give it away for free to everyone who asks just because you're retired and they assume you have nothing better to do. 13th thing, sell your anxiety about money. I know that sounds impossible, but I'm serious. The decades of worry, the constant checking of accounts, the fear of running out, the obsession with market movements. You need to sell that mindset, unload it, give it to someone else, because at a certain point, the stress will kill you faster than any market crash. I've watched friends die of stress-induced heart attacks, watched marriages crumble under the weight of financial worry, watched people so afraid of spending that they never lived at all. And I promise you that no amount of money in the bank is worth a life lived in fear. So sell the anxiety, hire a fee-only financial planner you trust, automate your income streams, set up guardrails that let you spend without panic, and live your remaining years with the peace you've earned. 14th thing, sell your identity as your job title. This is the most important sale you'll make. Harder than selling the house, harder than selling the business, because for most of you, your entire sense of self is wrapped up in what you do for a living. You're the VP, the director, the doctor, the lawyer, the engineer, and when you retire, if you don't sell that identity, if you don't let it go, you'll spend your golden years mourning your former self instead of discovering who you are without the business cards. I was a teacher for 45 years, Mrs. Henderson, that's who I was, and when I retired, I grieved like I'd lost a limb, wandered around my house for months feeling useless, until I realized I could be Eleanor, just Eleanor, woman who likes to garden, woman who likes to read, woman who has time to listen to birds and write letters and sit with friends without watching the clock, sell the title, cash in the status, and discover who you are when nobody is paying you to be anything, because that's the person you'll be spending the rest of your life with, and you better make peace with her. 15th thing, sell your expectations about retirement itself. The commercials lie, the brochures lie, the whole industry is built on selling you a fantasy of endless golf and sunset walks on beaches, but retirement is just life without a job, with all the same problems, all the same worries, all the same relationship challenges, plus new ones like declining health and shrinking social circles and the constant background awareness of your own mortality. So sell the fantasy, accept the reality, plan for the actual experience of getting older, which includes doctor's appointments and medication management and watching friends die and figuring out what to do with yourself at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday when you've already walked the dog and read the paper and there's nothing on television. Sell the expectation that retirement will fix everything, and buy instead the honest preparation for a stage of life that can be wonderful or terrible, depending entirely on your attitude and your planning. 16th thing, sell your adult children on the idea that you're their safety net. I know you want to help. I know you love them. I know the housing market is impossible and student loans are crushing and everything is harder than when you were young. But if you spend your retirement bailing out grown adults who should be supporting themselves, you'll end up old and poor and resentful. Set boundaries. Make your support conditional and temporary. Sell them on their own independence by refusing to enable their dependence. My daughter wanted to move back home at 45. Divorce, job loss, bad luck, all legitimate, but I told her no, told her I'd help with a deposit on an apartment, help with groceries for a few months, but I wasn't raising her again, wasn't sacrificing my security for her convenience. It was hard. She was angry, but she figured it out, and now she's stronger for it, and I still have my savings. 17th thing, sell your home country if you can. I know that sounds unpatriotic, but I'm 106. And I've seen what happens when nations decline, when currencies collapse, when the cost of living in familiar places becomes impossible on fixed incomes. Consider selling your expensive American or European residence and buying something in a lower cost of living country where your pension goes further, where health care doesn't bankrupt you, where the weather is kinder to aging bones. I have friends in Portugal and Mexico and Thailand living better on half the income than they would in the U.S. Sell the sentimentality about location, buy the practicality of affordability, because patriotism doesn't pay the heating bill and nostalgia won't buy your prescriptions. 18th thing, sell your privacy if you must. I hate that this is true, but the world has changed. Your data is valuable, your attention is valuable, and if you need income in retirement, you may have to make peace with the surveillance economy. Rent out your spare room on platforms that track everything. Drive for services that monitor your location. Fill out surveys that build profiles about you. It's undignified, it's invasive, but it's income. And in a world where traditional retirement security is eroding, selling your privacy might be the difference between making it and not. Just be smart about it. Understand what you're giving up. Negotiate the best deal you can. And don't pretend it isn't. Happening 19th thing, sell your books, your CDs, your DVDs, your vinyl records, your physical media of every kind. I know, the feel of paper, the sound of analog, the joy of the collection. But you're moving toward a smaller life, toward assisted living or nursing care, or at least a house with less storage. And those shelves of media are just future burdens for your executors. Digitize what you can, sell what has value, donate the rest, and free yourself from the weight of possessions that technology has made obsolete.